YouTube, it's Emily Beck, and this is Hey Martha, Call Me. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to make a face mask. So, a couple of things I wanted to tell you. So, I went to Joann Fabrics and got 2 yards of fabric for free. They just gave it to me. I had to do the cutting myself and find elastic. Elastic is like nearly impossible to find right now. I just had this laying around my house. What you really need is a 1/4 inch elastic, and I had 1/2 inch. So I wanted to note that. But you know, if you're making these for medical professionals or yourself, I wanted to go over a couple of do's and don'ts of wearing and making a mask. One thing that while I was kind of researching and getting the best plan of action on what to tell you guys to do, I saw a couple of posts for geared towards people who are making masks for medical professionals. They said try to make sure you make some sort of little marker for the inside of the mask, so when they're wearing it, you know, they know this is the inside. This goes towards my face. You know, it's not going to do a lot of good if they can't tell the difference and they put the you know, contaminated side to their mouth. And I think that's probably a good piece of advice for people making these for themselves. If you're nervous when you go to the grocery store and you're shopping for your things, you know, which side is which. But more to that end, I wanted to go over a couple of things. So this is more of something that's going to help you rather than hurt you. I know it's kind of a controversial thing, regular people going out in a mask. You know, if you need to do that to make yourself feel a little bit more in control and a little bit more comfortable, by all means, I'm not here to judge you for anything. But I do realize that if you've never had to wear a mask, if you've never worked in the medical profession before and you don't really know, you know, aseptic technique to wearing a mask. So I kind of touched on the first part where, you know, make sure you know which is the inside and the outside. But more importantly, when you're wearing this out, when you have it on your face, so I'm going to put it on my face like this, and you're out in the store, you know, and you're shopping, and maybe your phone rings, and you want to, you know, talk on your phone. Don't do this. It just fell off. Don't touch your mask when you have it on. You know, when you're in the medical profession and they're teaching you aseptic technique and what to do and what not to do. When you have your protective gear on, whether your gloves or your mask, you always have to think of yourself as contaminated. This part of your face is kind of like not touching your face. This is contaminated. The minute you put it on, you're done. Don't touch this. Don't pull it down. Don't you know, adjust it in any way if it's bothering you, whatever. You know, this is going to ensure this doesn't become a liability rather than, you know, what you're protecting yourself from. Also, when you want to take this off, don't touch this part. What you want to do is go to your ear and just kind of loop it like that and take it off. This is now dirty. You can't wear this again. You wear it one time, it's got to go in the washer. So you just wash it. So that's a couple of tips. I don't know if anybody else has a couple more that you want to leave down in the comments, but I felt like that was really important to tell you guys. You know, once this is on your face, it is now dirty. One thing, before you put this on, you want to wash your hands. Wash your hands. 20 seconds. We all know how to wash our hands now, definitely. Sing whatever song you need to sing, and then you can put it on without touching the front of your mask. So you want to put it on from ear to ear, like that. You know, you can adjust it. Oh, my ears are really small, so it's hard to get them on there. You know, you can adjust it, but once you are out and about in public, no more touching. Don't touch this anymore. When you want to take it off, at your door, maybe you want to put like a plastic bag at your door, so this doesn't come into your house. You can either, usually what they'll tell you is your pinky is probably the least contaminated, the least inoculated with whatever you're afraid of touching. So you want to take your pinky, just kind of hook it in there like that, and take it off. So that way you're not really touching it. And then you put it in your bag and you wash it. That's really about it. The rest of this video is going to be mostly my hands. I did not show you guys me sewing, like actually sewing on the machine, because there's a lot of explicitives when I am sewing, when I'm using a sewing machine, and I didn't think that was appropriate to show you guys. But basically we're sewing straight lines. So even if your sewing ability is not really good, like mine's not very good, you can probably make this mask. And it's a really kind of a noble thing to do right now. The medical profession is, they're running out of masks. So if you can do this, you want to get together maybe with another person, and they can, maybe you cut out, maybe you really don't want to touch a sewing machine. Maybe if you want to cut out the fabric and another person sew it, that's a really good way to do that. But where I got this, I got it from joannfabrics.com. The link will be in the description, and please enjoy. Also, I wanted to say one other thing. If you are on the other side of the fence where, don't wear a mask, it's not doing you any good, try to keep the comments resourceful or helpful to those people. We are all going through the same thing, but we are not all going through the same thing. So try to be kind with your comments, and maybe your thoughts when you see somebody. It's kind of judge people kindly. This is a stressful time for everybody, and I think everyone is feeling a different level of anxiety. So try to keep that in your heart. Try to remember that when you see things like that, and please keep your comments kind in this. Like I said, we're all going through the same thing, but we're not going through the same thing. So enjoy. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. The link for Joann Fabrics patterns is in the description below. What you're going to need to do once you click on that link is download the PDF. Once you do, click print, but make sure you print it at 100% scale, or else these aren't going to come out the right size. Once you print them, take your ruler and measure 9 inches across the bottom and 6 inches across the side. The second page of the PDF will print out a face mask for a child. If you're planning on doing a face mask for a child, just go ahead and let it print out. But if you just want the face mask for the adult, only print the first page. But the face mask for a child should measure 8 inches across the bottom and 5 inches across the side. Go ahead and cut these out. Alright, so I've cut out the face mask pattern for an adult. And if you notice, there's a seam allowance, a 1/4 inch seam allowance across the top. And then there's this little note around here that says place on fold, and it has these 2 little arrows on each side. So what I did, I pre-cut out a length of fabric. And what I did was I folded it with the right sides facing each other. So this is the right side, it's folded in half, and the wrong side is out. And here's the fold along the bottom. So I'm going to take my pattern, place this up against the right side here, and have this part is along the bottom of the fold. It's lined up just to the edge of that fold. So basically what we're going to end up doing is cutting here and then along the top. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. I've got my tripod set up, so I'm trying to cut around it. So I'm going to cut up the side. And if you wanted to, you could pin this down so it doesn't go anywhere, but we're cutting out straight lines, so it's pretty easy to follow. See, I don't think it's necessary to do that. See, I've got a little bit extra there, but it's not that big of a deal. So now I'm going to cut off the top. Okay, so now you'll see that this is a lot longer from top to bottom when you unfold it. However, keep the right sides together, and I'll show you how to pin this. Now you're going to want to pin along the top here, and if you notice, I made about a 2-inch little spot here where I've marked off from the middle. I folded it in half and then marked these 2 little Sharpie points right here. You don't want to sew between these 2 lines. That's how we're going to turn it right side out. So I know to do something different there. I'm going to pin here first. Pin here. And you don't have to use a lot of pins. I think I'm going to do 3 on each side of that mark. This is just holding your fabric together so it doesn't slip while you're sewing. So there's 3 on that side, and then we'll start from there. Right here. And here. So I'm going to sew from this corner, sew, stop, lift up my needle, start sewing from here, sew until the end. So this is going to have a little pocket in it. So I'll be right back. I'm going to sew that and I'll show you what to do next. So the next thing you're going to want to do is cut a piece of elastic. Now this is a 1/2 inch piece of elastic. That's all I had around the house. But the pattern does call for a 1/4 inch. And it also calls, I think, for 7-inch length. But on my practice one that I made, it wasn't quite long enough. So I'm going to add 1 inch onto that. So what you're going to do is just measure out 8 inches and give it a cut. So there's 1. And then I'm going to need another one for the other side. This is the part that goes around your ear. So 8 inches there. Give it a cut. Done. So now I have 2 earpieces, 8 inches long. All right. So now I have sewn along the top. Here's my stitch in black there. And then I left a little pocket. I skipped that little 2 inches. And there's my little pocket. But now these sides are still open. I haven't stitched these sides yet. What I'm going to do is pin my little ear flaps on here. And so what I found is probably the easiest way to do is just start from one side and you just kind of like squiggle it in there like that, and then take it right up almost to your fold. See it? There's like a little spot there, and then I want just a little bit of a flap. See how I put a little bit farther out? I'm going to pin it right here like that, and I've pinned through, like if you could see down inside of here, the elastic is running through, and I've pinned down here. It's poked into the elastic too. This is going to help make sure it stays nice and straight and doesn't, walk around while I'm sewing it. That's actually kind of important. I think that might have been part of the problem why my first practice one, the elastic got a little bit shorter because it kind of walked around and it was kind of weird. So then here's my next one, the other side of the same piece of elastic. I'm taking that, see how it's kind of gotten a little bit sideways there? So I'm taking that up to the other seam. That's a little bit too much poking out. Okay, let's get it nice and straight. This is the, I think for me, was one of the hardest parts, was trying to get this elastic to work with me. All right, so now I'm going to pin that down as well. There we go. And I'm going to do one pin in the middle. Right here, just to keep that nice and together. So then I'm going to repeat that for this side, same side, or the opposite side. And then what I'm going to do is just run a stitch all the way down to this end. What I am going to make sure I do is back stitch a couple of times where my elastic goes into the mask. So here and here, I'll go brr, 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 a couple of times before I finish sewing there. And that's going to secure that elastic really well. All right, gonna go sew, BRB. All right, so I've sewn my elastics in. This side is all sewn. So I still have this. Now it's time to turn this right side out and squiggle everything through this little tiny 2-inch hole that we've made. Oh boy, that's hard to do. All right, so here we go. Ooh-wee. Okay, look at this. Boop-a-doo, ba-doo-ba-doo. All right, so now we're almost there. Now we need to make the pleats. But what I first need to do is kind of square up my edges, make sure everything is kind of turned the right way. So what I'm going to do is go to my ironing board and I'm going to iron everything nice and square. What I'm also going to do is iron down that last little 1/4-inch seam allowance so this is nice and together. So I will be right back. I'm going to go iron. I'll show you what it looks like in a second. BRB. Okay, so I sewed this little pocket shut. But if you remember when I said if you were making things for medical professionals, they need a way to differentiate which one is the front and which one is the back. So I decided to cut a little length of ribbon and just sew it in there. I just like folded it back on itself so you don't have a raw edge. But that's how you're going to know this is the side that goes towards your face. You could even do this for one that you're making on your own. So you know this side always goes towards your face and then this side is the front. So our fold is still down here. This I put in that little 2-inch pocket we left open. You could do this on the side, in the side seam, and just have a little part poking out there. But I wanted to note that I did that there. That's actually really important if you are doing these for a medical professional. They really need to know which side goes towards their face. So you don't have to do it like that. You could always, like, this was darker fabric, so I couldn't use like a Sharpie or anything to write inside or whatever. So there's lots of different ways that you could denote what is which side. So I just decided to do that little piece of ribbon. So now we need to mark the pleats, and we're almost done. So what you do is you put your pattern back on top of your almost finished part here. And I have a little marker that is for marking on fabric. So I've lined everything back up. So what I want to do, these solid lines are the middle of your pleat. So I'm going to mark that at each solid line. Right here, and then there's a third one here. Ooh, that's going to be hard to see. You know what? I'm going to put my pin in it right now. Like that. I'm going to put my pin in it right now. So then I'm also going to mark, let's line that up a little bit better. So I'm also going to mark the dotted line that's just beneath the solid line. Next, that's just beneath the solid. Here's the next solid, just beneath. All right, so I'm going to pin the solid lines first. And then, see, notice how all my solid lines are green? I've got the green. And then on my dotted lines, I'm going to use a black. So that way I can tell the difference once I'm looking at my stuff here. And then lastly, what I want to do is mark the last dotted line that's just above each. So I'm going to mark that here. Oh, did it again. So what I might do is grab a Sharpie and make a little black dot on that one. Let's see if I got my Sharpie close by. I don't have my Sharpie close by. So what I'll do is just pin it. I'll pin that one. So now we can take it away. So this is the trickiest part, and I actually had to watch the Joann's video a number of times before I figured out what she was trying to tell me. So what we're going to do, the green pin here is the middle of the pleat. The black pin is going to get tucked up past the green pin, and we're going to marry these two things together here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this black pin, go all the way up, match the black pin to the part we didn't pin, and then fold it back, right? I'm going to take that green pin out, keep the black pin, and that's where I'm going to pin. I'm going to pin that pleat down like this. So I'll show you again, because this was hard for me to understand. So you take the, here, I'll do this like this. So this is the dotted line just under the solid line. So dotted line just under the solid line, and then the dotted line above, right? So take it like this, put them together, and then bend that back. And take out the green pin. I don't need that one anymore. I'm going to take out the black pin, but use it to pin my pleat. So I've got a little bit of like a seashell accordion fan look going on here. So last one, I take the black pin, bring it up to the white pin. There, they're going to make a little kiss. They're kissing each other. And then bend it back, take out the green pin, take out the white pin, make these a little bit more straight. Take out the black pin, but use it, ouch, I just poked myself, to pin that pleat down. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just the way I did this. And then what I can do is sew down the side and the mask will be done. So be right back. I'm going to pin this other side and sew it. So I'm all finished now. This is the finished product. Um, One thing I didn't tell you when I started sewing is I backstitched a couple of times over each pleat to make sure it was nice and tough each time. But that's it. That's the face mask for the adult. And again, if you are making this for medical professionals, or even I would recommend if you're making this for yourself, make sure that you mark in some way what is the inside of your mask. You could do what I did and cut a little piece of ribbon and put that in the seam, or you could even write inside with a Sharpie or something permanent, so when you wash this, it's not going to wash away if you don't remember. But that is really important. But otherwise, that's the mask. Hope you enjoyed. Hey Martha, call me.